This board is called the Gremlin, and it's something that is part of like a little family of boards that we've been making, which is the Ghost, the Phantom, and then the Gremlin. And what this is a lot of people have been really liking the Ghost, and that's been a board that's been great for like shoulder high plus surf up into like double overhead or whatever. And then the Phantom is more of a step down version of that, a stubbier, little more chunky board for head high, a little overhead down into maybe the waist high range. And then for the people that are really surfing like lesser quality waves or just want a little bit more volume and beef in their boards in general, we've made the Gremlin. And it is essentially a step down version of the Phantom. It's even a more squished up, chunky version of the Phantom with a similar feeling to it. So we're trying to create this group of boards that's you can use for different kinds of waves, but it's all not like switching to a completely different design. You kind of have a familiar feeling. And this is the one that is for the worst of your waves in this group. And it has a real chunky rail. It's got a lot of volume through it. It's packed with volume. So it paddles great. It's really stable feeling, fast down the line because it keeps its float with all of that. It has a wide nose, a nice curvy outline, and it has a lot of foam up in the front of the board, but it's not like overly chunky and it's not overly flat like a fish. It has some curve still. We call it a fun-formance board. So it's fun, but it's performance. We have round tails and also a squash tail is the main design we've been doing, which is a little bit of a hip going through here into the squash tail, and that helps break up your turn so it feels nice and lively and loose. The bottom of it has a single concave with a double concave set inside of that all the way through it off to the tail. And what that does is, especially since these boards often are a lot wider stock than the other boards, when you put a double concave in the bottom of a board, it helps to break it up into two halves almost, and that lets you go rail to rail a lot easier, especially on a wide board. It lets you roll back and forth, and that feels a lot better than being stuck feeling like you can't turn a board. The rails are pretty chunky and they carry the chunk through it, but they're not like big boxy rails. They just have a lot of foam up under your hand going into the rail, and then they're kind of tapered down a little bit, so they still have a sensitivity for its thickness that's pretty nice, so it's not a big boggy thing. This board, I would say, it doesn't have a problem in waves that are even head high or overhead, but it definitely is like something we gear more towards the middle range of like knee to head high. You know, it's going to be your board that you can surf anytime when there's little surf, you want to go and get wet, and it still feels fun. It has some performance to it. You're not going to be stuck because you're riding this. You're going to have more fun probably.